Welcome to episode 69 of the Unapologetic Mompreneur podcast, where today I'm chatting with the amazing Donna Dube all about how to craft the ultimate mompreneur game plan and supercharge your online business. Donna is a certified director of operations and host of the CEO Amplify podcast, who works with established online service-based business owners who are ready to make bigger impact and maximize their profit. By leveraging their time, talent, and tactics, Donna helps business owners go from solopreneur to confident CEO without sacrificing their life, health, or relationships. If you're wanting to scale your business whilst maintaining that elusive mompreneur life balance, this episode is a must listen. Get ready to discover the 6 habits for dominating your week, how to categorize tasks for business growth, how to figure out which activities are going to move the needle forward, the power of CEO power hours, and setting boundaries so that you can avoid burnout and go from surviving to thriving in your mompreneur journey. Let's dive in. Welcome to the Unapologetic Mompreneur, the podcast for mums with an online business who are ready to take back their time, home, business and self so they can restore the balance and thrive, both at home and at work, without feeling like they have to choose between the two. I'm your host, Sarah Dube, life and biz coach for mompreneurs. I'm also a mum, stepmom, wife, introvert, breast cancer survivor, and your mentor for making a change for the better. I've learned how to go from surviving to thriving and unapologetically create a business I love and the life I want for me and my family without worrying about what other people think. And now I'm here to help you do the same. Because being an unapologetic mompreneur doesn't mean that we're selfish or that we don't care about others. It simply means that we are not afraid to show up as our true, authentic selves, to step into our purpose, do what we know is right for ourselves and the ones we love, and take the steps we need to take to make our dream life and business a reality. Join me each week where I'll be sharing all of my best tips and strategies, plus the occasional dose of tough but gentle love to help you feel empowered, motivated, and confident to take action so that you can become the mum, wife, biz owner, and woman you know you are meant and deserve to be. So, are you ready to unapologetically create a business and life you love? Let's do this. Hi, Donna. Welcome to the Unapologetic Mompreneur podcast.
Thank you. So happy to be here, Sarah.
Oh, awesome. Yeah, I'm looking forward to diving into this topic. And I know that all of those listening and watching, it's one that they are going to love. And just that, the mompreneur game plan. And I know you've got 6 habits for dominating your week. And it's definitely something that I know I personally could do with some help with, of just trying to juggle all the things and doing mum life, biz life, and everything in between as well. So I'm looking forward to all of the goodness that I know you're going to be sharing with us today. Just before we dive in, just in case anybody who hasn't met you before, do you want to just share a little bit about you, your family, what you do, and like the journey that's got you to where you are now?
Yeah, for sure. So I'm in Canada. It's so nice that we can meet virtually like this. And I have 2 children. One is a young adult and one is a teenager now. And I started my business journey about 6 or 7 years ago. I was homeschooling my children at the time and wanted to do something more for myself. I had been sort of in corporate world before homeschooling, and so wanted to get back into things, but not necessarily go back into a 9-to-5 situation. And so really had to dig into what my talents were and what my skills were and how I could bring that into something online. And I landed on doing project management for 6-7 figure businesses. So I would come in and help them manage a certain project. So whether that was, a launch of a new offer program, or whether that was writing a book or, a certain project, come in, manage that and sort of leave. But what I found, Sarah, was that so many entrepreneurs, especially mompreneurs, were literally drowning. And I don't mean to say this negatively, but things looked great on the outside, but behind the scenes, they were really struggling, right? They were working way more than they wanted to. They felt a lot of guilt for not being there for their family and or friends or themselves, to be honest with you, right?
Yeah.
Wanting to grow their business to the next level, but just not seeing a way to do that because they were already at capacity. So how could they give more? And so that's when I really decided to dive into work with them one-on-one, more on the operations side, and let's build that strong foundation so that you can grow and scale. Because what ends up happening to a lot of us is that we have a passion, we have a skill, we want to serve and give that to other people in the world and make an impact. But running the business side of it, sometimes we're not ready for that and we need a little help in that area. And so that's when I've been able to really come in and help and leverage the leader's time, talent, and tactics. Those three T's I talk about frequently to really help them work in the business, but also have time to work on the business. And we'll talk about that further. Grow their business without working 24/7.
I love that. And it's so needed and so important, isn't it? Because when we first start out, and I've shared a lot before that, the reasons, especially as mums, that we want to start a business is so that it fits around the needs of our family. But we end up and we find ourselves when we first starting out that we're actually working so many more hours than we were when we were in like our 9 to 5s and our corporate jobs and all of those things. But then we also go into it because we want to help somebody. We've got a skill, we've got our talents, but we don't realize that we actually need to be the boss of our businesses as well, don't we? And we have to be that CEO. And we have to, as well as mastering everything else, we need to be able to work on our businesses as well as in it, because it's so easy, isn't it, during the day just to get bogged down with the autopilot stuff and busy, feeling like we're doing stuff, but whether or not we're moving the needle forward, and if we're not actually working on our businesses as well as in them, that's when things can start to feel like overwhelmed and drowning and all of that thing. And then you throw in kids into the mix and school and home life and everything else in between. It's no wonder, is it, that we all just get totally overwhelmed. So let's dive into that. What are some of the common challenges that we find ourselves in when we are stuck into that day-to-day operations of working on our businesses or working in our businesses? And what can we do about those so that we can like kind of take that step back and look at the bigger picture?
Yes. What I found with myself, as well as a lot of my clients, is that obviously we start off as a solopreneur, right? And we may still be a solopreneur, and that's perfectly fine if that's how you want it, right? Not here to push that everybody has to have a team of 50 by any means. It's really up to where you are and what you want. But we end up doing all the things at the beginning because we have to. It's only us, and we're trying to get this thing off the ground. Where I think we fall into a trap is that at some point we have to start making a shift. And I believe that shift really starts with a mindset shift first, because we have to actually see ourselves as the CEO of our business. And I know when I'm talking to small business owners and I ask them that, do you see yourself? Oh, no, I'm not a CEO. Like CEO is, the big guy in Microsoft and Apple and all. That's not me, right? And true, it looks a little bit different, no doubt, but you are the CEO because you're responsible for the strategy and the vision, right? You've got this boat, we're rowing in a certain direction. Where's it going, right? What do you expect to happen in the next 12 months, in the next 3 years? If you can think that far in the next 5 or 10 years, sometimes it's hard to go that far. But the point is, no one else who you bring into your business can do that, right? You are responsible for that. And if you have anyone working with you, you're responsible for getting that vision and letting them know what that vision is. So telling them about it so that they too are on board and rowing the boat in the same direction, right? And so really being able to say, yes, I am a CEO, even though I run a small business, it's not a huge corporation. I still need to have time each and every week to be thinking and acting like the CEO. All right, so what in the world does that look like once I've agreed that I am? And so really it's about dedicating time to doing those revenue generating activities, right? So one of the first things I get my clients to incorporate into their business is what I call a CEO power hour, which you may have heard of, like a CEO date, that type of thing before, where you block off time to work on your business. This is just 1 hour. And really what you're doing in this hour is it's the same time each and every week, Doesn't matter what time it is. So if you like Monday morning, choose Monday morning. If you want Sunday evening, Friday afternoon, that time doesn't actually matter. What matters is that it's the same time each and every week, and it's non-negotiable. So unless there's some life crisis going on, nothing takes over at that time. And what you're doing during that time is really reviewing, reflecting, and setting your top 3 priorities. Notice I said 3, not 5, not 10, right? 3. And if it's a really crazy week, you've got stuff going on at home or whatever, make it 1 priority. Like, be reasonable, be realistic with yourself, but no more than 3. So what are your top 3 priorities to move the business forward this week? And then blocking off time in your calendar so that you can work on those top 3 priorities. And where you get those top 3 priorities from is what you've planned. So you might have a yearly plan. We work on breaking that down to 90-day plans and then down into monthly plans, because you want to take a bite of the sandwich, not try and gulp the sandwich, right? So as we break it down, it makes it much easier to see, oh, this is the next step I have to take. I can do that in 2 hours on Thursday morning, blocking it off, done, right? So we make it into bite-sized pieces so it's more manageable and it's on our calendar. So that's the first CEO habit or hack that I like to have my clients work. And it makes such a difference when we start doing it week over week over week, because we start to see patterns and trends. Commonly, we'll put 3 priorities that are way bigger than we could manage in a week, but we learn from that, right? Okay, that was way too big. I need to chop that down, right? And the point of reviewing and reflecting is that we're taking a couple of metrics and really honing in and seeing the pattern and the trend week to week, so that we don't end up in a position where, we made goals in January, it's now June, and we have no idea if we're close to meeting our revenue goal, if we're close to meeting how many new people we want to get into our world, or whatever that metric is, right? It's going to be different for each business, but picking 3 or 4 metrics that we can really focus on and track, because we know what we measure grows. So let's get specific about what we're going to measure and track that each and every week so we know where we are and we have a chance to make a difference. So for example, working with a client, she had a revenue goal. Revenue was really down that month. We were in about week 2 out of that month. We didn't have a set sale planned for the last 2 weeks. Okay, what could she do? Well, she knows she had some hot leads. She could reach out personally to those leads, invite them in to work with her one-on-one. That made a difference to her revenue, right? Maybe you're in a situation where you're not meeting your goal. You're like, I'm going to open up a flash sale on some digital product that I have and get a little revenue boost that way. So again, it doesn't have to be a whole big launch, but sometimes small tweaks can help us get over that edge.
Awesome. Oh my gosh, there's so much goodness in that. That's just brilliant. And yeah, absolutely. I totally agree that it starts with mindset. And I think it's just so easy going into it that you do have that big perception that CEO is, big company. And, when I think of CEO of my husband's company, it's a huge American company. So, if I tried to put myself in those shoes, I would feel like, no, that's totally just so far from where I am. But it took me a long time to actually adopt that mindset. When the first 3 or 4 years of my business, I just didn't see myself as a CEO, a boss. I was just running my business. But once I really started digging into it and actually changed my mindset and said, no, I am the boss of my business. And like you said, you have to have that strategy, that vision of knowing where you want to head and what you're aiming for. And when I started adopting that mindset, that is when things started I noticed to start seeing a shift in my business, because I was behaving like the boss. And acting the way I wanted to if I had been the CEO, that things really started to make a difference. It was amazing. It really did make a difference. And then I added to it, because it was interesting, you mentioned like CEO power hours and CEO days. And that's what I've been doing. I have what I call CEO Fridays, and I just spend the morning and I go through and I actually just look at, but that's more about my stats and checking on my finances and updating all of that sort of thing. But I love the idea of a CEO power hour where, you're just diving in and you're looking at those metrics of seeing, am I focusing on the right activities, the things that are actually moving it forward? And I think that's great, especially if you do it every single week and you can check in and see what's working and not. So like that example you shared with your client of her income wasn't where she wanted to, you're not waiting to the end of the month and then getting frustrated and upset because you haven't hit your goals, or that you feel like a failure because you haven't, made much money this month. You're actually doing it a lot earlier, that you can say, right, can I run a flash sale? Can I reach to some hot leads? Can I go
Mhm.
and find a way of collaborating with someone? Can I tap into some of my affiliate programs or something? And
Mhm.
you can actually do stuff ahead of time. So you're kind of, you are being that boss, aren't you? And you're taking that proactive action rather than being reactive all the time. Brilliant.
Exactly. Yes. Yes. And it can come in different forms. Like you had mentioned, your CEO Fridays. I had tried that for a while and it was working, I found, like in the wintertime. But now, as I'm getting into summer, I want a little more flexibility. And so I've just recently been trying, like, say, about the last month, the first hour of my workday, I block off and I call it my growth hour. And so I have 1 hour if I'm working 5 days that week. So that would be 5 hours, 1 hour each day, where I'm strictly working on what my priorities are to move the business forward. And it has helped so, so much because I feel great after the hour. I feel real accomplished because I've done something for my business to help me move forward. I'm not worrying about, oh, I got to get this done before the end of the day. Nothing urgent for my clients or anything else has gone wrong. I've still been able to meet all my other deadlines, but I've had that first hour, which is really focused and really intentional. And so it can look different for different people, right? But being intentional with your time and saying, what's going to work for me? Is it going to be a block of day, like a time block that's 3 hours on a Friday, for example, or is it going to be spread out day to day? Whatever that looks like for you, but make it happen.
Brilliant. And growth hour, that's so smart. I'm totally stealing and adopting that. Because I'm exactly so I have that all of the things, I've got my list of the things that I know that are going to move the needle forward, that are going to get me more visible, that are going to bring in subscribers. But am I doing them? And then I'll get to Friday and think, oh, I didn't do that. I didn't do that. I didn't do that, because I'm not making it a priority, or I'm getting
Mm.
distracted by other things that are slightly shinier. Because a lot of the times, the things that are going to move us forward aren't always the sexy things that we want to work on, but we know we need to do them.
Yeah.
And it's like even stupid things like pinning to Pinterest. I know I need to do that. I haven't done it,
Mm-hmm.
but I'll bump it and I'll bump it and I'll bump it. Have I shared about, one of my workshops to my email list this week? No, probably
Yeah.
should have done it. All of those things, but they all contribute to growth, don't they? So I think
Yes.
by actually putting that, whether it's the first hour or like for me, if I tried to do it in the first hour of the day, I know that wouldn't work, because my best energy is in the afternoon. I don't know
Mm-hmm.
why. It takes me a lot longer to get focused and get my head down in the mornings. And I can seem to do so much more in like the 2 hours of the afternoon that I have before my boy finishes school than I can in the entire 4 or 5 hours I have in the morning. So I know doing that, it would mean then I can have that list of like the growth activities and get them done. And like you say, you would feel so much more accomplished. You know that you've taken the steps, that you're making a difference. And but also at the same time, you're still acting like the boss of your business, aren't you? Because you're leading from the front of getting yourself to do what you need
Yes.
to do.
Yes. Yes. And I know, like, for some clients I work with, when I suggest, okay, let's have this CEO time, it's okay. Yeah. But what about all the other things? Right? Those other things are still there. So how do we manage it all? And so I like to think of all the things on your to-do list, of all the things that happen in your business, they can go into two buckets: maintenance and growth. And so maintenance are those things that usually happen on a regular cadence, right? Your invoicing, your bookkeeping, your social media posts, getting emails out, updating an email sequence, making a new landing page, those things that happen frequently in your business. But I challenge you to think, do they have to happen by me? Do I have to have my hands on every piece of all of those processes? And so there's a few ways we can think about it. Sometimes we can automate part of the process. So do you have a tool already, a software tool that you're using already that has an automation that you just haven't tapped into? That doesn't mean you're being removed from the process. No, you've still got your hands in it. But if you can take part of it and automate it through a software tool, then now that's saving your time you can now put towards your growth level tasks. The other thing is, if you have some team members or you're thinking of hiring a team member, look at what you can delegate. Look at what comes up week after week for you that doesn't necessarily have to be done by you. Maybe you have a team member that could take over some other tasks already, but you haven't had the time to really think about it and organize that and make it happen. And then the third part of it is really simplifying. So I don't know if you're like this, Sarah, but I am. I start a strategy, seems pretty good. I hear about another one, or I think about another one, think, oh yeah, we'll add that in. We'll add that in. Next thing you know, I've got 4 or 5 strategies, and I'm not really sure which ones are working and which ones are making a difference. So really taking it step by step, putting one strategy in, waiting that 3 to 6 months, measuring that return on investment. Yes, this is bringing me a return on investment. And yes, I like doing it. Now it's aligned and we're getting results, so we can move forward with it. But if it's not getting us results and it's not aligned with us, stop, right? We don't have to keep doing the strategy because we started it, right? So really looking critical and simplifying what you're doing and saying, this isn't helping me. It's not bringing me the return I want. Let me just stop it. The world's not going to fall apart, promise.
That's such great advice, because generally things are just we make them far more complicated than they have to be, don't they? Things can be super, super simple. And I'm definitely guilty of that, I'm such a squirrel, such a shiny object person. If I see something new come away, it's like, I want to add that. I want to try that. I want to try that. And I do tend to do that I will spend so long actually going through all of my like strategies and operation procedures and everything else of how I want to do things. And I'll add something else to it, and I'll add something else to it. And then I look at it sometimes and I just think, why am I doing that? Is that actually doing any good? So I think it's a really good point to like actually just focus on one strategy, give it time to bed in, give it time to do, because if you add too much, you don't know what's working and what's not working either, do you? So definitely. And one of the things that I share all the time with all of my clients and on this podcast, and the whole theme of it being the unapologetic stance, is you do your business your way. Just because somebody else has told you that that is how you should be doing it doesn't mean that you have to do it. If it doesn't work for you, if it feels icky or forced or doesn't match your personality, or if you just find that you don't like it and it doesn't work for you anymore, it's okay to let it go. So I'm so glad that you shared that. It's such an important message to just give ourselves permission to do that. And going back to the automation thing, that is so powerful, because there's so many things that we can automate in our businesses just to take away some of that workload that we don't have to do we? And like you said, it's not totally removing you from it. It just makes your life easier. And one of the things that I added just as an example for like this podcast was I started using Cast Magic, which would then I'd upload the audio file, and it creates all of the transcript. It creates a lot of social posts for me. It gives me the bare bones for an email. Yeah, of course it's AI, so I'm going to tweak it and make it my voice. I'm going to take bits out, and it makes errors on the transcript so I can adapt it. But I can take that, and that initial hard work is being done for me. And then I can go and write my blog post. I can then go and create my social media for it. And it just saves us so much time, doesn't it? It's just incredible. Yes. So I think going and looking at all of the things that you do in your business and saying, what can I automate and what can I outsource? I know I'm getting ready to have a VA, because I've got a lot of things in my business now where I'm like, I don't need to be spending my time on this. And I kind of resisted, because I'm a little bit of a control freak and I like doing it all myself. But I've had to have that hard, long talk with myself that actually I can't do it all. And it is okay to get somebody else, because then when I do, exactly like you said, it frees you up, doesn't it? That you can then focus on the growth, and it gives you more time. And that's a really good mindset shift to have, knowing that if you pass things out and outsource it, that you're then free to do even more growth and do more things that are going to bring you forward in your business. I love that.
Yes, 100%. Because if you think about those growth level tasks, those are things like creating new content, whether that's a membership, an offer, whatever that looks like, networking, getting in front of other people's audiences, podcast guesting, doing teaching in other people's masterminds. All of those things you have to do, right? There's no one that you can hire to do those things for you at this stage. Maybe if you get big enough, you have a sales team and they're looking after some of that for you. But definitely for most of us at this stage, that's something that you, the business owner, want to and have to be doing, right? And so if you think about it, the higher the revenue you want, the more time you need to spend in growth level tasks. And so I have a little CEO score, I call it, which is just a little way of measuring, did I spend enough time this week in those growth level tasks? And you measure it each week. Some weeks you're going to hit it. Some weeks you may be way beyond it because you went to some conference and did networking there. But really, it's just a way for you to keep on track that I am dedicating time to these growth level tasks each and every week. And that's where we start to see the momentum, right? Because we're continuously working on it, one step closer towards our goal, rather than, oh, I need, a day to put this all together. Little by little, we work on it. We get closer and closer.
Fantastic.
The other piece, that. I think, sorry.
No, so that's fantastic. I like the idea of the score system. That's brilliant. Yeah.
Yeah. The other piece of this is the schedule. And so I'm sure for a lot of moms listening, they're in the same boat as some of my clients, where when they started their business, their schedule was pretty wide open. So if you want to meet at Tuesday at 2:00, no problem. They'd make it work. If you want to meet at 9 a.m. on Wednesday, they'd make it work. But as we grow our business, we need to be much more particular about what our schedule looks like. And so I call it your scheduling ninja. So you want your ninja working for you, not against you. And what this looks like is take a blank calendar and put in your life and your family things first. But hold on a minute. This is my business calendar. Yes, but if we don't put in life and family first, we end up in a position where we're at the end of the week and we're trying to squeeze something in. Or we hear, but Mom, you said you'd go to my next baseball game, but you're busy again. Like, how many times have we heard that, right? So put those family and life things in first. If you like to have quiet time in the morning, or you like to have time before your kids go to school, block that off. You're not meeting with clients at that time. If you, do school pickup and then you have a little bit of time with your kids, block that off. If you meet Aunt Sally every Thursday for lunch, block that off. Whatever it looks like for you, block off those important things for your life, your family, and yourself first. Then we block off times when our business is going to be open. Now, I say that in air quotes because many of us run an online business. It's always open, right? True enough, people can find your website, they can buy your offers, no problem, but you are not always on. So what are the hours when you are going to be available? When clients know that they can expect a response from you and or book a meeting with you. When your team knows that's a time when I can find Donna if I have a question. And that doesn't have to be 9 to 3, Monday to Friday. If it works for you in your season of life now, great. But if that doesn't work for you, break it up. Maybe it's a few hours in the morning and then a few hours in later evening, whatever it is that works for you. But make sure you've got those hours blocked out. That's when you know too, I'm to be at my laptop, right? Generally, I'm to be at my computer doing my work. And that then helps if you see clients one-on-one, they now have a regular cadence of when they meet with you. They can't just randomly change it from week to week. If you have a group program, you have a regular time when you're meeting those people. And then within those open hours, that's when you then want to be blocking off the 3 most important systems in our business: marketing, sales, and client delivery. So when are you spending time on whatever you're responsible for marketing? So if that is creating the content for social posts, make sure you have time for that. If that is getting in front of other people's audiences and teaching, make sure you have time for that. If that's networking, make sure you have time for that. Whatever that looks like for you. If that's setting up a new email sequence, which you have to write because you don't have a copywriter right now, make time for that, right? Of course, sales. We need to be inviting the people in our world in to work with us. And I think often this is an area where we forget, or it ends up on the back burner. Oh, I didn't do that this week, right? We don't want that. We want guaranteed time each and every week to work on that. Does that mean that you're always selling? No, you've got specific times when you have certain products for sale. And that's part of what I like to do in your big 12-month plan. But you want to be on top of that because for each product you have certain assets that you use when it comes time to sell, whether that's email sequence, whether that's social posts, whether that's a live webinar, a challenge, whatever that looks like for you. You've got pieces that need to be prepared if they're not already prepared, and or tweaked if they need to be changed a little bit the next time you run that. And then, of course, client delivery. So whatever promises you made to those clients on how and when you're going to meet them, or how and what you're going to deliver them, you have to make sure you have time in your week for that. So those three main systems, block those off in our calendar. Now our calendar has time for us, has time for our family, has time for those important things in our business, and most importantly, has white space. Because it's a myth to think that our calendar has to be full.
Goodness, yes.
Right? And this calendar might suit you right now. Like I talked about, my summer schedule is a little bit different. And so I have a calendar that's suiting what I'm doing right now. But come fall and winter, I'm going to have a different calendar because my schedule is a little bit different. And maybe 10 years from now, when my kids have moved out, my calendar is going to look different again. And that's okay, right? You have to make it specific to you, unique to you, and it can change with different seasons of your life.
Absolutely. Oh, I could not agree more. I love that. And I love that you're taking the calendar, and before you even start thinking about your business, you're doing it from family and the things that matter to you first. And that's totally exactly how I do the same too. And what I teach my clients with my term time roadmap, because I spent so long trying to juggle, trying to fit everything in my business around, or making, family fit around my business. And it took me a long time. And I realized I was doing it the wrong way around, because I would get those comments of like, oh, mum, are you missing my school play again? And, all of that stuff. And then the mum guilt creeps in, and then you feel terrible. Then the torn between the laptop and your family kicks in, and you just go into that whole guilt trip circle, don't you? And it's awful. And then about 18 months, 2 years ago, I realized, actually, what if I designed my business to fit my family? And so now I take my boys' Harrison's academic year every year, and I do all of my goals and manage my business based on his 3 terms. And that is how I do it. And that gets mapped in first. And then I break down what I'm marketing, working on, launching, doing, all according to his term times. And it has taken away so much pressure. It's made it so much easier. And then building into that, I then, like, when you're open for business, I love that, because yes, we feel like we need to work on our businesses all the time, but we don't necessarily have to. And I've learned, working less on my business, I've made more progress. But I also it was a hard lesson for me to realize that actually being open all the time, especially like you say, you're online, that everybody could just come and book a call whenever they wanted. So when I set my calendar up, people were booking the 5 days a week and 4 or 5 calls a day. And I'm like, I've got no time to do work now. Yeah. So having that, like, those boundaries, isn't it? And being able to do that. So now Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursdays are just my time for client calls, podcast interviews, and all of that stuff. And then Monday is my day where I get back on track. I see where I'm at after the weekend, because it usually takes me a few hours to get my head into space of work mode again. I like to blitz my house for a couple of hours once everybody's gone off to work and school, because I can't work and focus if my house is a mess. And then Fridays is my CEO Friday morning, and Friday afternoon is generally, I'm not very good at taking this, and I'm trying to work hard on this, but it's my time, it's my white space. It's the time where I go off and I do something for me. And unless it's something that's like really urgent or essential, or if something crops up, I'll swap it to a different day. But I try and honor that too. And that was one of my biggest lessons of, like, when am I open for hours? When do I want people to have access to me? So that is such a great tip.
Yeah. And it makes such a world of difference when you can get up in the morning and you feel in control, right? I see so many clients come to me and they say, I just feel like this business is a monster. Like, it's gotten away from me and I'm not in control of it, right? And again, a lot of it starts with our mindset, but the other pieces are these little habits. You can see, like, there's nothing that we shared here that's rocket science, right? To be honest with you, it's not, but it's how we think about it. And it's about putting, our time and being intentional with our time. I remember there's a quote by James Clear that says, the myth is that we don't have enough time to do the things we want. But the truth is we don't have enough focus with the time we have. And so it's really about, ditching that hustle and grind culture, because I don't believe in that. I have certainly tried it, and I can tell you it didn't work for me.
Yep, don't like it.
Right. So it's really about banishing that busy work. And like you say, working less, but working on the most important things that make the difference, right? So working less, but then we get to see more profit from that. And so it's really just knowing, what are my priorities? What are my goals? And almost putting those blinders on, like, when you go to the horse races and they've got the blinders on, we sometimes need that too, to be able to say, this is, where I'm standing. And I know for some of the clients I work with, we'll meet, some of them I meet one-on-one with weekly, and they'll say, oh, I saw this, I'm going to add. Okay, hold on a minute. What were our goals? Do we have capacity? Right? So just asking yourself those questions before you jump on the next new shiny object can sometimes help. Just taking that quick pause and saying, is this really in alignment with where I want to go? And if it is, and I don't have capacity, then what do I need to let go of and put this in place of, not add on top of?
Love that. It is tempting to want to do all of the things and keep adding and adding, but we can't, there's only so much that we can do. And if something new does come in that is, a priority and is something that has really got us excited and feels like it's the right direction, then it's okay to go after that. But then sometimes other things have to give, don't they? And it is okay to let those things go. Because something I see a lot with my clients sometimes as well is that they've set these goals, but do they still resonate? Do they still work? But because they've set them, they feel like they have to keep going, that they can't just let it go and know that it's okay to let it go. So I'm really glad that you shared that too. And just taking that time to just pause and think before you say yes to something of whether or not it is the right time and whether it works. And we can always ballpark it for later, can't we? And just a no right now doesn't mean a no forever. It's just that now is not the right time. This has been
exactly.
so good. Thank you so much. I'm going to have to go back and watch this and listen to this again myself and take notes, because there's been so many golden nuggets, like the mindset starting of thinking like a boss, the CEO power hour, the growth hour, which I am totally going to start doing. I'm definitely going to add that to my working day and week. And then even like the ninja for the calendar and and just mapping that out. Thank you so much. It's been super, super helpful.
Good. Thank you. I'm so happy we got to share.
No, that's amazing. I'm sure it's going to be so many great tips for everybody listening. Before we wrap up, I always have one question I like to ask all of my people that come on the show that I chat with. And also, before we do that though, is there anything else, like one final word of wisdom or one final nugget or anything that you would like to share before we wrap up?
Yeah, I think the big picture here is to look critically at how you're using your time in and on your business, and to start changing that mindset. And don't think it's going to happen overnight. It's a journey, but let's get going with it.
Perfect. I love that. Fantastic way to wrap it up. Excellent. So the question I like to ask all of my guests is, what does being an unapologetic mompreneur mean to you? And how are you showing up unapologetically every day, both as a mum and as the boss of your business?
Yeah, I love that question. So I think for me, the unapologetic means I'm not apologizing to myself first, right? Not apologizing to myself and say, oh, I should have, oh, I could have, oh, I didn't. Oops, right? I'm actually setting my week and my days up for me. And then I'm not apologizing to my family and friends because I've set my week up properly. And I'm not apologizing to my clients because I've been realistic on what the expectations are from the get-go, right? So if you come to me as a new client, this is how we're going to work together. This is how often we're going to meet. This is when your time to book is. If you can reach me in between this way, and this is how long it'll take me to respond. Those details may seem like, oh, it's too much at the beginning, but it actually makes it really clear for you and your client, right? Just letting those boundaries, letting them know what those boundaries are, so that, that relationship is strong and there's no mismatched expectations there. So I think really just setting my week up proactively so that I don't get to the end and have to apologize to myself, to my family, or to my clients. And I think the other piece of that is just being really accountable and honest with ourselves about what we can and can't do, right? I know, like, this is another side topic, but I know recently my mom had some health issues. And so I had to step back a little bit from my business to help out. And I was happy to do that. But I had to be realistic on both sides, right? I couldn't be with my mom 24/7, and I couldn't be with my business as much as I wanted to. And so just giving ourselves grace, but being honest and truthful with ourselves about what we can handle at this time. And if Sally Sue can do 3 times as much as us, that's okay. She's got a different business. She's running a different life than we are. And there's no guilt, no shame in that.
Wonderful. That is such an amazing way to end it. That is so freeing for that mindset shift of not apologizing to myself, because sometimes we just think about everybody else, but actually we know that it's okay, that we don't need to apologize to ourselves if there are coulds, I shoulds, and everything else, and to give ourselves grace. Wonderful. That is such a great way to sum it up. Fantastic. Thank you so much. So if people want to connect with you, find out more, and want some more of your great, amazing, incredible tips, where can people find you? I know you've got a podcast as well, so if you want to share about that, and we'll make sure that links for everything is in the show notes as well. And I know that you've got a CEO Power Hour Playbook freebie as well. So do you want to just share all about you and where people can get their hands on all of those things?
Thank you. Yes. So yes, I do have a podcast. It's called CEO Amplify. And during those episodes are short, about 15, 20 minutes long, I'm really diving into how can you, as CEO of your business, small business owner, but still CEO, really leverage your time, your talent, and your tactics. And so we talk about your CEO job description. We talk about setting up your scheduling ninja. We talk a lot about planning, because I do believe that hour of planning really makes a difference long term. And then my website is also ceoamplify.ca. And so you're welcome to go there and check out. I got a couple of free resources. The Power Hour is one of them. So thank you.
Brilliant. We will make sure that all of that is linked in the show notes. Thank you so, so much. It's been such a great, fun conversation, and so much great tips and advice that I know is going to help everybody listening and watching. So thank you so, so much.
Thank you, Sarah.
Brilliant. And that's it for today. Thank you, everybody, for listening, and I look forward to chatting with you in the next episode. Bye for now. Thank you so much for joining me for another installment of the Unapologetic Mompreneur podcast. If you like what you heard, be sure to hit that subscribe button so that you never miss an episode. And if you have a moment, I would love for you to leave me a rating and a review so that other mompreneurs can find this podcast too. Here's to unapologetically becoming the mum, wife, biz owner, and woman you know you are meant and deserve to be. I can't wait to chat with you in the next episode. Bye for now.